I love being out here. It's beautiful. I'm in my element. Tracking a bird is a kind of a one-man operation. Over the last 2 years, we've collared 52 birds. There are 3 male sage-grouse right out here in this area. Once you feel like you've got a good solid signal, then you start to make a large circle around the bird. This is male 47, more in this direction. Then once you've gotten it at a couple of different angles, you know it's behind you, you've passed in that area before, then you're pretty confident that you're right on that bird. Go ahead and mark the location and take down any information you need to. I'm sure they're aware of our presence. It's not unusual to track a radio-collared bird and end up flushing up 100 or so birds at a time. Lots of activity, lots of males showing off for hens. It's pretty entertaining to watch and impressive. You know, that takes a lot of energy. You know, those males are really putting on a show, and they're putting their necks on the line out there.
The Department of Energy has supported sage-grouse research and monitoring on the INL site since the 1970s. Dr. Jack Conley, who is a research biologist for the Idaho Fish and Game, conducted some of the seminal sage-grouse research on the site for his graduate work, and he continues to collaborate with INL scientists regarding sage-grouse research. And about 23% of those historic leks that were documented in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s are active.
We want to find out where she's nesting, and then monitor that nest, determine whether or not she was successful, and then follow her from there with her brood and identify these critical habitats for raising up broods.
The funding comes from DOE to Stoller, and then we subcontract to the Wildlife Conservation Society and Idaho State University, so it's a teamwork there of multiple organizations. Data currently being collected through the Environmental Surveillance, Education, and Research Program will be used with historical data to prepare a candidate conservation agreement for DOE with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. This agreement will enable DOE to continue to develop and deliver cost-effective solutions to challenges in nuclear energy and other energy resources, national security, and environmental management. So right now there's a lot of interest in sage-grouse with the recent finding coming out with the Endangered Species Act. So a lot of people are concerned about sage-grouse. A lot of people are concerned about sagebrush steppe habitats. So it's good to have as much information as you can. There's limited access to the INL, so there are areas with limited impacts. So we do have some areas out here that are in fairly good shape. Sagebrush, still strong stands of sagebrush that are in good shape. A lot of their life history revolves around sagebrush. Of course, foraging and eating it, nesting habitat, and then just habitat for to complete their life cycle. But wildfire probably is one of the larger impacts. It's just flat out destruction of sagebrush.
Anytime you have habitat fragmentation due to human activity, there will be resources that humans leave behind. Prime example of that are highways, roads. They provide roadkill, and that is a resource that ravens opportunistically utilize. Power lines out in an area such as this where high perches are pretty rare. Ravens are very adaptable, and they are taking full advantage of power lines and setting up shop. And sage-grouse are part of the menu. So they are a native predator, but when you've got population levels elevated, then the sage-grouse can't possibly keep up and adapt to that added pressure. They locate nests, and they just systematically steal one egg after the other until she's all out and out of luck. They are the largest grouse species. You know, they're not necessarily the brightest, but they manage to persist, and that is impressive. They've got a lot of, a suite of threats that they're facing, that they're continuing to hold on despite those threats and those risks. What are we leaving for future generations if we if we don't pay attention now and document these things. As much as sage grouse have been studied, there are still a lot of things that we don't know.